Give thanks for life, family. You know, it's been interesting during this season, 2020. We've seen different kind of relief funds come available, and most of them are for not too sizable amounts, but amounts that are helpful. And oftentimes we have to apply for this funding. We were looking at one of the most recent applications, and it's from a national organization that supports farmers. And in the application, they asked us to explain a situation or some sort of consistent discrimination or obstacle or oppression that we have experienced based on either being black, a person of color, trans, homosexual. And it made me pause for a moment. We're talking about agriculture, and we're talking about relief for farmers. And to my knowledge, the African American experience here in the United States is extremely unique in so much that this nation has created its wealth based on, largely on, the genocide of indigenous people, the capture, enslavement, and land theft from African people that were imported here and worked for hundreds and hundreds of years in enslavement conditions, and then were able to generate enough wealth to gain acquisition of farming land and farm that land, only to have that land, millions of those acres, be taken and stolen from government through tax processes, illegal deeds, lack of paperwork. All types of things have happened, and this is historical documented information. So now in 2020, when a black farmer is filling out what I thought was maybe some COVID relief funding, because the lockdown most certainly helped to destroy a currency here in the United States and the financial system, and most certainly had a deep impact on restaurants and food service work where we were supplying food to. So I'm thinking this is what this relief is about, this amount of funding. And now to have to fill out this question that I haven't seen in other applications prior to this, where we have to explain what kind of oppression we might have suffered. But are we talking about this year? Or are we talking about the historical ramifications of systemic racism, oppression, and theft? If I have to now be competing with someone else putting in a grant who may be trans and has experienced some horrible types of abuse this year in 2020, and maybe this year I didn't get harassed by the police or didn't get denied a grant, but this other person has experienced this, but there is historical documentation of millions of acres being stolen from black farmers, millions of indigenous people being genocided. I come from both of those lineages. So who's going to grade this application? Who is it that's going to look at that question and make the determination of whose experience warrants what? Why is this question on the application? Do we really want to get into an experience where we're having to compete with our traumas?